Yeah, thank you guys all for coming out tonight. So I'll be the last one to warm you up a little bit before the big guys come out. Just talking briefly about my experience trying to juggle these two things, working and studying, as I suppose many of you do or have done. But first, a fancy animation to illustrate this. Procrastination at its finest. Yeah, I'm a UI UX kind of jack of all trades for 20 hours a week here, and I also study communication design at the University of Applied Science. And when the product crunch team approached me to take this opportunity for public speaking, which doesn't make me nervous at all, I kind of just did what I figured was the polite thing to do, but it's actually been pretty cool because it's given me a chance to reflect on the things that I'd done in the past years and why I had done them that way and how I feel about it. And yeah, this is a little bit autobiographical, so let me give you some context. When I was still in high school, I couldn't wait to go into university. I just was really excited to get that space where I could really dive into one particular topic that I had chosen. But then, and also my dad, he holds a Doctor Diplom Ingenieur, which is a weird academic title you can get for studying things like architecture in his case. My sister was on her way to getting her medical doctor's degree. But when I actually finished high school, I was not that much in a hurry to keep learning and studying anymore. So I kind of went step by step, went halfway to Berlin first and ended up in Vienna, taking a full-time job as a graphic designer, really bad pay, but a cool team. And this was actually pretty cool. We built web, desktop, and iOS apps for museums. So for example, this thing you see up here is a 3D laser scan we took for the Digital Archive of Schönbrunn in Vienna, if you've been there. But soon enough, I realized that, damn, I'm actually still learning lots of things and learning really exciting things that are the future and are here to stay, like Adobe Fireworks and prototyping in ActionScript 3 and also Joomla. Now, I don't know if you guys are all familiar with all these things, but they're totally obsolete. Joomla is a content management system that I don't think anyone should have ever used, if you ask me. But it gave me a start and it gave me challenges, but eventually I started to miss the methodology and more theory behind it and more structure for the actual learning. So also they stopped paying their employees after less than a year. So it was time to move on. And I finally did make it to Berlin to take on a bachelor's course. And I ended up studying physics, which was interesting. And these were very exciting times. I still had a little bit of money saved up from my prior job. And I got a scholarship that I didn't really have to do much work for. It was 500 euros a month, and it was way more than enough to support me in my 10 square meter WG room. And I felt like the king of Berlin and didn't feel the need to do much in terms of productivity outside of the required amount of work I had to put into university to pass all my exams and get my degree in a reasonable amount of time. But I almost wished a little bit that I would have had to work, just because how I know now how well the two can go together and how so many of the skills you learn with either framework are transferable both ways, and it also makes you appreciate what you're doing much more. And it was actually my internship that I did for the physics degree where I remembered that doing something you're made to do could also be fun and fulfilling if it's not something you're just doing for the sake of it. So you can have it all. Apologies for the cheesy webcomic that apparently doesn't even make sense, but for former physicists, it's mandatory to put an XKCD webcomic in any and all slides that you make, so I found this one. But to get to the point, after some reorientation, I started another bachelor's program, and I'm now studying communication design at the University of Applied Science in Berlin, and I'm working here. And it's really different this time. Right when I started the second degree, I got involved in a student-run agency, and this set me up for work experience and developing a network, and eventually landed me this job indirectly as well. So I'm studying full-time. I'm here on an in-house product team that's really exciting, about 20 hours a week. And I've realized, and I've wrote down last night, that there are actually a couple more benefits to this than just having the money for food and shelter. So for starters, I have a really balanced mix of responsibilities. The hours do add up, but I believe the variety makes the time pass more quickly. Or as we like to say in German, die Mische macht's. Now, that being said, I do sometimes wish I had more time to focus on either of these things, or just a couple of more hours every day. For example, I would have liked to have a couple more slides for the things I'm listing now, but I didn't have the time, so I'll just be reading. I can apply my learnings from school at work the next day and vice versa. This is actually a huge deal. Like 2 weeks ago, for example, I did a short-term project at uni, physical and ubiquitous computing thing where we cooperated with a university in Colombia and built a machine where you can breathe into other people's faces through the internet. And it's not really something I could do at work, but I believe that I can still take away some useful things from that. And you get to make sure that what you're learning to do is something you actually enjoy doing for a living, which maybe I should have considered with my physics degree, but the past is the past. And also you learn to prioritize more because, and that's where the subtitle comes in, I don't have the time to consume much media that I'm not actually interested in anymore, but I still go to the gym a couple times a week. And I now actually consciously enjoy the free time that I still do have. And with this, we're almost at the end. Basically, it comes down to, I've tried all the different combinations of studying and not working, and working and not studying, and now doing both at the same time. And I can really recommend going back and forth in frequent intervals or doing it simultaneously for the reasons that I just listed, but I know what you're all thinking. Anecdotal evidence isn't really worth that much, so I tried to dig into some papers and find some quantifiable information to support my argument. And there are two sort of interesting things that came up. So I wanted to see how happiness correlates with these things, with education and occupation. And a Dutch research group, for example, found that those with a non-vocational intermediate level education score highest on health, wealth, and happiness. Pretty straightforward. And then in Spain, they found that people with a higher education level have higher income levels and higher probability of being employed, and thus report higher levels of happiness. Now, this kind of makes sense. You have a better job, you have more money. Money is proven to increase happiness to a certain extent. But then the more interesting thing they found was that even after controlling for things like income and labor status and socioeconomic variables, they found that education actually has a very direct and positive impact on happiness. And they interpreted this to be as a result of the self-confidence that you can build. And that's something that I've certainly seen. I don't know how we're doing on time. I have a really sweet story about my sister, but I don't think I can squeeze it in. So I do have time? Okay. So I was back in Austria with my sister and my niece a couple of weeks ago, and it's really made me think because my sister detoured a couple of times as well, and it took her a while to actually finish her medical degree, and she did another degree at the same time. And now she's finally working, and she's pregnant with her second kid. And I was talking to her about her future, and she's actually planning to, as soon as her second kid is old enough, get another master's degree because she wants to go into medical ethics, and then you can join medical ethics boards at hospitals. And as trivial as that sounds, I was actually really inspired by it because you don't have to think about it so linearly. Like, I enjoy the degree I'm getting right now. Time is passing in a flash, and when I'm done, I'll probably be fed up and will want to work full time for a while. But I can always go back and get another degree if I'm hungry for more knowledge or for learning in that way. So yeah, that's basically it from my side for today. Thank you all for listening, and
thanks very much. All right, those of you who have been here before, you know we really emphasize the Q&As after the talks. So also for lightning talks, we have a short question or an open round. So does anyone have questions to a physicist and designer and student? Not really? Well, I have one. I'm always wondering what you could kind of take from your physics bachelor and apply now in your daily job now with us. So I saw already one really fine example, adding kind of tiny cartoons to slide decks, but I'm sure there must be
that's
other.
the main takeaway. Yeah.
No.
No, but I like to say that my physics degree is where I learned to learn and where I learned to think. But with design, especially if you go into digital product design, it pays off in way more ways than that, because we had a real emphasis on computer sciences in my physics degree as well. And working in a small team now where everyone kind of has to do a little bit of everything, it comes in handy not to be so scared of the numbers and of the lines of code.
Good. Other questions? Yeah, there's one.
Hi. Thanks for the nice talk. So I also studied something that's completely unrelated to my job. I went to business school, and I'm an iOS developer. But I had like quite a lot of fun in the process of studying. And so when I'm thinking about taking another study, I also think that now that I have like a consistent income, I'm kind of spoiled by the work life, because you enjoy the money and you can do more stuff. And so like, did you maybe chat with your sister about how she was considering to go back in the student mood, especially now that she's got 2 kids?
Yeah. So the income thing, I totally understand. You get comfortable, and as you have more responsibilities, it becomes scarier maybe to take a step back, so to say. In her case, it's fortunate because it's unfortunate. Right now she has an income, but her boyfriend doesn't because he's still studying. And then when he'll be done, he can go to work and she'll be studying, and they'll be just as poor as before. So.
So find someone that really loves you.
Yeah. That's the main correlation with happiness anyways.
Okay, is there a last question maybe? No? Okay, thanks so much, Janos.